Hey, what you doing?
I'm just working on finishing this autocomplete component before the sprint ends tomorrow.
Cool, can I have a look?
Sure.
Hey, you're using a switchMap. Nice.
Really? I am?
Well, didn't you write this code?
Okay, listen. Don't tell the boss or anybody else, but I just copy and pasted that code from Stack Overflow, and it seems to be working.
What? No, you can't do that. Don't you understand switchMap?
No. Who do I look like? Ben Lesh?
Hey, Ben Lesh.
Ben!
Hey, what's going on?
Ben, why don't you explain switchMap to him?
Oh yeah, sure. It's easy. Let's look at the docs here. SwitchMap projects each source value to an observable, which is merged in the output observable, emitting values only from the most recently projected observable. Well, you see, it subscribes to one at a time, and then you have to worry about which one you're subscribed to, and then...
I have no idea what he was just talking about.
No, me neither. But look, it's really not that difficult, okay? So a switch map is just like it's a mapping from one observable to multiple...
Stop what you're doing!
What?
Stop! Stop!
It's Reactive Teacher Man!
Hey there, kind man. Can't you see this poor soul is lost? Here, read this.
What?
Just read the story.
Oh, okay. The year is 2018. Every 5 minutes, a new JavaScript framework is born. Our story takes place inside the offices of Kevin Belson, a young, successful, and handsome CEO, if a little unstable. You wrote it. He previously made millions with startups such as Airbnb and Llama Date. He's currently working on his latest venture, Observables. Kevin is obsessed with the latest technology. Whenever he gets a tweet about a new JavaScript framework, he needs it, like yesterday.
I need it like yesterday.
Let's see how Kevin got on one day when his Twitter stream went wild with new frameworks.
What's that? Backbone is the new hot framework?
As quick as you could say Misko Hevery, Kevin was on the phone to a recruitment agent.
Hello?
Backbone Recruitment Agency, Dolores speaking.
I need Backbone developers.
Right away, sir.
Before you knew it, developers started to arrive. Go.
Hi, do you know Backbone?
Yes.
Great, you're hired. Here's your hiring bonus. Come on, you're hired.
And they kept coming.
Hi, do you know Backbone?
Yes.
Yeah, great. You can run the Backbone material team. Great. Here's your bonus. Oh yeah, take some more. Yeah, okay.
But of course, Twitter never stands still, and neither do hot new frameworks.
Oh, what's that? Angular is the new hot framework?
He was now convinced that Angular was what he needed.
Hello?
Angular Recruitment Agency, Recruiter Rob speaking.
I need Angular developers.
Recruiter Rob has got you covered.
Thanks, Recruiter Rob.
But just before any more developers arrived...
Wait a minute. I don't want any more Backbone developers. I better call Dolores. Hello?
Backbone Recruitment Agency, Dolores speaking.
Oh, hi, Dolores. You're fired.
What?
Didn't you hear? Angular is the new hot framework. So please, no more Backbone developers.
Who is this?
No sooner had he hung up than the first Angular recruit arrived.
Hi, do you know Angular?
Yes, I do. I have about 10 years of experience.
10 years? Who are you? Misko Hevery?
Yeah?
Great, you're hired then. Yeah. Here's a signing bonus. Okay, yeah, you're hired. Okay.
With Misko on the team, there were plenty of developers keen to join Observables.
Hi, do you know Angular?
Yes.
Great, you're hired. Here's your bonus. Okay.
And this went on and on and on.
Great. Nice story. But what the heck does this have to do with switchMap?
What? I mean, it was brilliant. But don't you get it? I mean, it's obvious.
If you remember, the CEO gets a stream of hot new framework tweets.
Okay, I got that.
And this is an observable of tweets.
Yeah, and when the first tweet arrives, then the CEO calls the Backbone agency and then asks them to start sending Backbone developers.
And that's a recruits observable.
Wait. So we have two observables at the same time?
Don't worry about that for a minute. So they keep sending Backbone recruits until the CEO gets a new tweet about the Angular framework and calls the Angular agency and asks them to start sending Angular recruits.
But what about the Backbone recruits?
Yeah, so don't forget that then the CEO calls Dolores at the Backbone agency and asks her to stop sending Backbone developers.
He fires her.
Yeah, we got that. Relax, man.
Yeah, so after he fires her, they stop sending Backbone recruits.
And that's when they kill the Backbone recruits observable. Ah!
Yeah, and then we see Angular developers start rolling in.
Okay, and then when that comes, that's a new recruits observable.
Yes.
So where's the switchMap?
When you think about it, whenever the CEO gets a new tweet, he switches from one agency's recruits to the other agency's recruits. See?
Yeah? It's obvious, like, every time the new framework tweet arrives, we kill the most recent Backbone recruits observable. And then we get a new framework observable to replace it.
Yeah.
Okay. Enough theory. Let's see how we might code this.
Oh, finally, let me do this.
So, first we have an observable stream of tweets.
Okay, so we can just hard code that for a moment.
Okay. So if we were to subscribe to that observable, we get one framework tweet after the other.
Okay, what do you mean? Like, if I just do this?
Yeah, just like that.
Oh, okay. Let's run it and check the console log. But first, let me sprinkle some reactive teacher man magic on top of it. Now you can run the code.
Wow. Thanks, Reactive Teacher Man. So, since we're subscribing to the framework tweets observable here, we'll get the Backbone framework tweet logged into the console. And then the Angular framework tweet will arrive, and the same thing happens.
Right.
Isn't that beautiful?
Right. Well, so we don't really need to subscribe just yet.
Right. For each framework tweet, the CEO then looks up an agency that specializes in that framework.
Okay, we can have a function called getAgency, which takes a framework and returns us the agency for that framework.
Yes, and then the CEO asks that agency to start sending recruits to him.
Yeah, right. So the agency object can have a method on it called getRecruitsObservable.
Hold on.
What?
No, that's so 2017. We don't chain map operators anymore. You need a pipe method there.
Yeah. Sorry. I knew that. Okay. So the modern way of doing it is to put the map functions into a pipe call, and then this makes the code tree shakeable.
Yeah, what he said. Anyway, so we have the framework tweet, and then when we get the framework tweet, we get its agency,
Right?
and then for each agency, we get the agency's recruits.
Wait. Are you saying that if we subscribe to this now, we'll start seeing individual recruits in the console?
Do you mean like something like this?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, let's run it and see for ourselves. So we see the first Backbone tweet arrives and gets mapped to the Backbone agency. But now, pay attention to this. The agency gets mapped to an observable of recruits and not the actual recruits. So that is what we're seeing being logged into the console.
I did not expect that.
Well, I expected that. This is because we're subscribing to an observable of observables.
What?
Yeah, let's not confuse him, okay?
Oh, wait. Because we have the recruits observable, we can just subscribe to that inside of the first subscribe to get the individual recruits.
Okay, so if we just do something like this.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, let's run it again and check the result. So, again, we see the backbone gets mapped into recruits observable, right, eventually.
Yeah. And then, watch this, since we subscribe, inside the subscribe, we get each individual backbone recruit in the console log.
Right.
And it works.
Yeah, and when you subscribe inside a subscribe, that is called flattening the observable.
Flattening.
Flattening?
Think about it like an array of arrays. If you'd like to have one giant array out of all the values of the inner arrays, you flatten it.
Flatten it!
Okay, I got that.
But you need to be careful when you do this with observables.
Oh, why do we need to be careful?
Well, let's see what happens when the second tweet comes in.
That shouldn't be a problem. We've already subscribed to the backbone recruits observable, and when we subscribe to that, we get the backbone recruits on the console log. Then the Angular tweet comes in, and that gets mapped to its agency, and those recruits its recruits observable, and then we subscribe to that inside, and then we see the Angular recruits being logged to the console, and it works. Yes, just like I thought it would.
Mike.
Yes, Reactive teacher man?
Yeah, take a look.
Oh, where did those extra backbone developers come from? Weren't they supposed to stop?
Well, duh. We never fired the first agency.
Yes. If you remember that when Kevin, the CEO, hired the Angular agency, he then immediately fired the backbone agency. Of course, he didn't have to do that. He could have chosen not to fire the backbone agency and to get all recruits from both agencies.
And this is exactly what's happening in our code.
Oh. So if you get an observable as a value from another observable, you need to flatten it?
Flatten it.
Okay. And when you flatten it, you then need to make a decision?
Correct.
Right. We need a flattening strategy. A strategy of what to do with all those recruit subscriptions.
Yes, whenever you flatten, you need a flattening strategy.
Flattening strategy.
Okay. So in this case, our flattening strategy is to somehow stop getting backbone developers.
Yes, we need to unsubscribe from the backbone developers.
Oh, I can do that. That's easy. Okay, so, right, first of all, we need to store a subscription to the current recruits observable subscription. Yeah, in the local variable, right? And then when a new recruits observable comes in, we have to unsubscribe from the previous subscription before we subscribe to the new observable.
And that is the flattening strategy. Flattening strategy!
Okay, that code is really confusing. What has he done there?
Well, this code might look scary, but if you think about it, we're just unsubscribing from the previous recruits observable before we subscribe to the new recruits observable.
Okay, why don't we run it and maybe see them get killed?
Okay, so yeah, again, we see the backbone framework arrive and eventually gets mapped into the backbone recruits observable.
Now this is our first recruits observable, so we don't have a subscription stored, so we step over the if statement and just subscribe to the backbone recruits observable. And we store its subscription in the local variable.
Great, and now we start seeing Backbone developers log in onto the console log. All of a sudden, relax, it's just a story, okay?
Okay.
We see the Angular framework arrive. And once this gets mapped, we now have 2 recruits observable to deal with. And this is where our flattening strategy kicks in.
Flattening strategy.
Yeah. So we enter into the if statement because we still have a previously saved subscription. So we unsubscribe from the previous subscription.
And this is where we kill the backbone recruits observable. Yay!
What? Just be normal.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, and finally, we subscribe to the new Angular recruits observable and store its subscription into the local variable and start.
What?
What?
Oh, nothing, sorry.
Okay.
Should get that checked. Okay, and now we start seeing Angular developers being logged to the console.
That is beautiful. And then when we do this, this is the switch strategy.
The switch strategy, right? Yeah. So, do you get what we're saying up until this point?
I think so, but it's still kind of confusing.
Okay, so let's try to run through it, okay?
Okay. So unsubscribing from the previous observable before subscribing to the new one is called the switch strategy?
Yes.
Exactly.
Right.
And we can get rid of all of that scary code and just replace it with a single call to switchMap.
Yeah, let's run it.
Okay.
Okay,
And then you'll see
how it works. Okay, great.
the backbone tweet arrives and it gets mapped to a recruits observable, just like before.
But this time, we store its subscription in the switchMap function. And then it passes all the individual backbone recruits to the subscribe method.
Right. And then when the new Angular tweet arrives, we map that one through to an agency and then to its recruits observable.
And here comes the switch. We're switching to the new subscription and passing only the Angular recruits to the subscribe method.
All of that
It's
logic
really cool, look.
that's there is inside the switchMap function? Is that some sort of magic?
No. It's not magic, dude. It's just code.
Yeah. The switchMap strategy does look like a magical thing which maps agencies to individual recruits in a sequence. But if we look under the hood, we see that it just does these 3 things. It maps the agency to a recruits observable, it then subscribes to this recruits observable, and this flattens the observable, and then it applies the switch strategy, unsubscribing from the previous recruits observable before subscribing to the new one. And this is switchMap!
SwitchMap! SwitchMap!
Hold on. All of this actually makes sense. Did I just learn switchMap?
I believe you have.
Thanks, Reactive Teacher Man. Now I understand how my autocomplete component actually works.
Oh, it was a group effort. But now my work here is done. What's that? So, someone is struggling with the concat map operator? Reactive Teacher Man!
Well, that was certainly interesting. I will have to bring that up during stand-up tomorrow. Excuse me.
Ow.
Now, back to work.
Hold on. No. No. What you need to do there is trigger change detection.
Change detection? Doesn't that run automatically?
No.
What you're doing? Stop!
Here we go again.
Hey, did I ever tell you the story about the rabbi and the change detection? Thank you. We wanted to say thanks to all the actors who are part of it. And if you want to see more courses, check out highres.io. And yeah, this was Mike, this was Pete, I was Shai, and this was switchMap.